I'm Avery Cole, 28, white-knuckling my grandma's scarf at her funeral. My mother, Regina, hisses, "Bad lighting, do it again," as she films fake tears. My dad, Martin, scrolls stock tickers like grief has market hours. The attorney says it. I inherit $22.5 million. Regina's smile flatlines. My brother Tyler spits, "No way." Someone snarls, "Thief." Then a tribute video plays my grandparents. "Some of you loved our money more than our company." That night, Regina shoves a power of attorney at me. I say no, her palm cracks my face, and in my head, a switch flips. I'm not your wallet, I'm not your hostage. I'm the ATM you tried to slap. If it were you, what would you do? Sign or stand? Drop a comment, share if this makes you furious. Like so the silence doesn't win. I'm Avery Cole, and if you're hearing my voice, I want you to imagine being the kid who does everything right and still gets told you're a bit much. That was my house. My mother, Regina, used the word gifted like an accusation. My father, Martin, lived inside a glowing phone screen. My sister, new name here, Fallon, was the sun the whole house revolved around. I was the flashlight you use when the power goes out, then toss in a drawer. If you've ever been invisible on purpose, hit like so the algorithm knows we exist. When I was 9, I brought home a statewide science medal, tiny hands, big grin, the medal still warm from a gym full of cheers, and I remember my mother saying, "Don't brag, Avery, be gracious." Then she turned to Fallon, "Show them your sketch, sweetheart. Now that's real talent." I learned fast. My wins were practical, hers were art. Translation, mine didn't count. My father murmured, "Good job, kid," without looking up. That night, I shoved my certificate in a drawer and learned it would never set the table in this house. Middle school was where favoritism got teeth. Fallon borrowed my homework tracker file the night before the fair, and it vanished. I confronted her shaking, and she smiled like a cat in a cream commercial. Oops, must have glitched. When I told Regina, she sighed, "Don't be dramatic." Fallon is sensitive. Sensitive was code for untouchable. I rebuilt everything on caffeine and panic and took second place second, like a punishment for resilience. Regina never asked how I managed it. She was busy parading Fallon's poster down a different hallway. Hurt learned to fold itself small. I started a secret journal because I needed a witness. Every missed birthday cake, every empty chair at a competition, every little helpful comment, "Avery just does numbers," went into those pages. People hear numbers and think cold. But numbers were the only place I wasn't gaslit. They didn't roll their eyes. They didn't forget me on purpose. They said, "You did the work, here's the result." If you ever clung to your work because it was the only thing that loved you back, drop a comment and tell me what carried you. High school turned the knife and smiled for pictures. Fallon failed a major exam and got an expensive private tutor for her vision. I aced advanced math and Regina hissed, "Don't rub it in." I built a budgeting app that half the grade used, and still a neighbor heard Regina laugh. "Avery just crunches things." Fallon, meanwhile, strutted into the kitchen with a brand new phone. "She needs the best tools," Regina said. I looked at my secondhand laptop purchased with babysitting money and thought, apparently I don't. Dating, brief and brutal. I liked a boy from coding club, Alex, who liked my projects and told me my brain ran like clean code. Fallon couldn't stand it. Rumors appeared. I used people for homework. I talked trash. I faked my apps. Screenshots traveled faster than truth. Alex drifted away, cheeks red with secondhand shame. I confronted Fallon, voice shaken. She shrugged. "You really think anyone wants you for you?" Regina stormed in at the crescendo and aimed straight at me. "Stop causing drama, Avery." That's how scapegoats are made. One lie, one adult who likes it. So I did the thing good kids do when applause is rationed. I disappeared in plain sight. I created an alias, Jess Carter, and shipped code under a name my family couldn't stain. Freelance fixes for broken sites, tiny payouts, $10 here, $20 there, but it was mine. Every deposit into a secret savings account felt like a love letter to my future self. I started to believe I could build an exit ladder one small rung at a time. If you're building your ladder right now, I see you. Keep climbing. Save this video to remind yourself why. While Fallon begged for loans to launch the next big thing, I learned servers, licenses, and security. I taught myself to expect nothing from the people who should have given everything. Regina called it being responsible. I called it surviving. Martin slipped me a 20 once, whispering, "Don't tell your mom." And I felt it like a Band-Aid on a bone fracture. Nice, but not healing. You know those moments when you realize the cavalry isn't coming? That was my adolescence on loop. And still, I kept receipts literal and emotional, because someday I might need proof I wasn't crazy. Here's the part that hurts to say out loud. I kept sending small payments home anyway. Utilities, little things, so the house didn't blink at midnight. They never asked where the money came from. They just enjoyed the light. It's twisted, I know, but kids keep paying fees for love long after the check should have bounced. If that sentence stings, you're not alone. Comment "no more fees" so the next kid scrolling at 2 a.m. hears it in your voice and not just mine. Do you feel angry yet? Good. Hold on to it, because anger handled right is a boundary with teeth. If you've ever been cast as the reliable background extra in your own home movie, share this, and every share is a chair pulled out for a kid who was left standing. And if someone has ever told you, "Don't brag, be gracious," while they hand your spotlight to someone else, hit like that. Let's make invisible child a trending phrase people have to look at. By college, I had the muscle memory of being overlooked and the muscle memory of working anyway. The alias Jess Carter wasn't just a name, it was a firewall. Under Jess, I shipped features, negotiated tiny licensing deals, and built a platform schools actually used. Under Avery, I smiled at family dinners and pretended I wasn't financing the Wi-Fi. Dual citizenship, one world where I mattered, one where I fetched napkins. If you've ever lived a double life just to keep your sanity, type 2 worlds, so I know you hear me. Then winter came like a voicemail you don't want to play. My grandmother died, Portland went quiet, and the harbor smelled like salt and endings. At the funeral, Regina angled her face at a phone and whispered, "Bad lighting, do it again." While filming fake tears, Martin scrolled stock tickers like grief had trading hours. I fisted Grandma's scarf and promised myself, one of us will be honest today. The attorney cleared his throat after coffee and casseroles and told the room the thing that detonated our family myth. I inherit $22.5 million, held in trust. Fallon's smile calcified. My brother Tyler whispered, "No way." Someone maybe both spat, "Thief." Then they played the video. My grandparents in their kitchen, hands wrapped around mugs, looking straight at us. Some of you loved our money more than our company. I felt seen by 2 people who weren't there to see me anymore. The folders slid down the table, signatures, safeguards, conditions I'd already met by simply showing up. The room shifted like a ship in sudden wind. Here's the thing about truth, it feels like oxygen when you've been underwater for years. That night, Regina staged a second performance at the dinner table. She shoved a power of attorney across the wood, like a bill I'd been avoiding. "Sign for the family," she said, voice sugar over glass. I said, "No." Her palm cracked my cheek. Time slowed. I didn't cry. I set a printed ledger by her wine glass, $45,000 I'd poured into Fallon's failed projects. "Take your gold and pay it," I said. No screaming, no scene. Just numbers, my old, honest friends doing what they do best, shutting down lies. I walked outside, the winter air, knifing clean, and texted 3 words to every account I covered. Cancel, effective immediately. I knew the lights would die at their house before dawn. Heat, Wi-Fi, streaming, all the invisible comforts I'd been underwriting in silence. Do you hear how messed up that sounds? Because even then I felt guilty for stopping. That guilt is the last chain they try to keep around your neck. You owe us. Newsflash, love is not a subscription service you can charge to your scapegoat's card. The smear started before breakfast. Regina posted a teary reel. "My child betrayed us." Martin emailed my principal claiming I was unstable. A deepfake of my grandmother surfaced accusing me of coercion. My friend Brandy traced the upload to Tyler's startup server, sloppy masking, amateur audio artifacts. They were stealing my face and my story at the same time, and I realized if I don't lock this down now, they will burn my future for click-throughs. Rage is an accelerant, but documentation is a firebreak. I chose the firebreak. I called Ryan Hayes, the estate attorney who still believes paper outruns gossip. We assembled at the long table, Ryan with binders, Victoria the advisor with new locks and new codes, Anna the partner who knew suppliers by first name, and Luis the estate manager who slid over a USB my grandmother labeled only if necessary. Inside, emails, transfers, IOUs, screenshots, signatures. Dad's loans unpaid, Fallon's vendors defaulted, Tyler's ads been devouring money like candy. Denise, the housekeeper, quietly added bank statements with Regina's notes in the margins. She measured rooms while Crystal slept. Denise said, "Do you feel the chill? Because that sentence is winter." We filed for emergency protective orders before lunch. Maine moves quickly when your receipts scream. Harassment, defamation, attempted theft, digital forgery, financial abuse, the whole toxic bouquet. That week at a chamber luncheon, Regina tried one last public gasp, dragging a fundraiser into the narrative. "There's confusion," she could. "Heirlooms belong to the whole family." I stood, held up the certified will, and read the line my grandmother underlined twice. To the grandchild who showed up, not the one who posed. A neighbor lifted her phone with a photo of Regina pocketing to silver. A store manager stood and said, "We got your emails, we're not buying it." The room flipped like a verdict. By dusk, the judge signed orders. Cease contact, return property, no interference with business. Violations meant fines, maybe cuffs, definitely headlines. I went back to the Harbor House and spread dinner on paper plates with the people who showed up when blood didn't. I set Grandma's scarf on the chair beside me like a promise. Here's the hook I need you to remember. The slap wasn't the worst part. The worst part was realizing I had trained myself to expect it. If that lands, share this. Somewhere, someone needs permission to stop training for pain. So what would you do, sign or stand? Drop it in the comments. If this story makes you furious, let the button hear it. Make the algorithm carry our boundaries farther than gossip ever could. And if you've got a ledger like mine, full of quietly paid bills and uncashed thanks, save this video. The moment you're ready, you'll know exactly which 3 words to send. Court orders aren't magic, but they're a spine you can lean on when your own is shaken. The morning after the luncheon, Ryan called. Orders granted. My phone went so still it was loud. No more threat texts, no more reels weaponizing motherhood, no more emails to my boss questioning my sanity. And then because old habits died dramatic, Martin violated the order by contacting a supplier. Just to clarify terms. Fines landed. His last deal folded like wet cardboard. I didn't gloat. I breathed. If you've ever mistaken panic for your baseline, you know what that first quiet feels like. Type quiet if you do. We audited everything. Victoria closed holes big enough to sail a grift through. New codes, new access logs, dual approvals, vendor verifications. Anna and I flipped the spreadsheet and asked a question no one had bothered to ask in that house. What's fair? We put profit sharing in place. The guys on the docks, the ones my grandmother fed clam chowder to when tourist season went thin, got checks with their names on them, not empty "we're family" speeches. One old cutter said, "Crystal would like this," and I had to look at the ceiling until my voice came back. Denise polished my grandmother's silver and archived it piece by piece. "For when you want to celebrate something real," she said. I moved into the front bedroom by the water, hung the scarf like a prayer, and found a note in my grandfather's ledger. Choose family by axe, not names. The axe is work, who carries wood, who stacks, who shows up in the storm. I thought about who had showed up. Brandy tracing shadows on the internet, Luis keeping a paper trail safe, Anna calling suppliers, Victoria locking doors, Ryan reading fine print like it was scripture. Blood didn't do that. People did. Regina's betrayed mother brand shrank to rooms where echoes pretend to be applause. Tyler's investors vanished the way investors do when receipts hit daylight. Fallon pivoted to a new reinvention and, when no one fronted the cost, discovered gravity. I didn't block them out of spite. I blocked them because peace is a boundary, not a personality flaw. One midnight call from a new number slipped through. I stared at it until it stopped. If you've ever watched a phone ring like it was a snake, leave with blocked. You're allowed, more than allowed, you're required for your life to fit you. Here's where rebuilding becomes more than survival. At school, a girl with bitten nails hovered after a community talk. My parents say I owe them everything, she whispered, like confiding a crime. I circled 3 numbers on a resource sheet and said, "You owe love, not access to your future." Her eyes did that wobble someone's eyes do when they hear the sentence they needed 5 years ago. That's the value I promised myself, to create from all this mess. Not a revenge tour, but a reroute for kids who will grow into tired adults if no one interrupts the script. We launched the Moreno Foundation, new name on the paperwork. Same heart my grandmother taught me in that tiny kitchen. Scholarships, stipends, apprenticeships at the docks and in the back offices where numbers stop being abstract and start feeding families. 7 kids cried in a cafeteria, and I cried too, which I hate doing on camera, but we were all waterproof that day. The local paper ran jobs, not drama lines at the hiring table, photos of paychecks, none of it glamorous, all of it holy. If that makes you believe we can fix small corners of the world, share this so it reaches one more cafeteria. Do I ever replay the slap? Yes. Some nights the sound finds me the way sounds do when a house is too quiet. But here's what we don't talk about enough. Forgiveness is distance plus accounting. I forgive by staying far and keeping books clean. I don't hate them, I just don't fund them. I can hold 2 truths. I love the idea of a family that was never mine, and I love the people who showed up when the idea crumbled. If that math helps, save this. Yes. Pull it up the next time someone calls your boundary cruel. The internet loves spectacle. It will ask for a season 2 where I crash their new lives. Sorry to disappoint, this show got better when I turned off their channel. The real twist was never the money. It was that I stopped auditioning for a role that hurt me. I kept the house, the books, the truth. I chose the crew that works in storms. And when I can't sleep, I open the window and let the harbor talk me down. Wave by stubborn wave, the sound of a world that keeps going, whether people perform or not. So here's my question to you, the one I wish someone had asked me at 16. If you could return everything they gave you that wasn't love, guilt, duties, a moving goalpost, would you? What would your life weigh without it? Tell me in the comments. Hit like if you've picked up the axe and chosen your people by the work they do, not the names they carry. Share this if you're ready for receipts to matter more than reels. And to anyone training themselves to be slapped by words, by silence, by the next, be gracious, your 3 words are ready when you are. Cancel, effective, immediately. Here's where I land and say it plain. I'm Avery Cole. I kept the house, the books, and the truth, not because I'm heartless, but because I finally learned what love isn't. Love isn't a secret invoice. It isn't a slap followed by a selfie. It isn't be gracious while you hand over your future. I used to confuse peace with silence. Now I know peace has a spine. Forgiveness for me is distance plus clean accounting. I don't hate them, I just don't fund them. I built guardrails, shared the wins with people who actually showed up, and turned pain into payroll, scholarships, and second chances. That's the part I'm proud of. Still, I'll ask you straight, am I in the wrong? For saying no, for turning off the financial life support, for choosing boundaries over a performance of family? Here's my takeaway. When the room won't see you, you're allowed to turn on your own light. Keep receipts, choose your crew by how they carry the storm, not by last names. If this hit a nerve, drop your story in the comments. Tell me the boundary you're building. Hit like, so this reaches someone who needs a map. Share it with the friend who's still paying for love. And breathe, you're not the villain for saving your own life.